Hello there, and welcome to Deep Space Sleep. I'm glad you're here tonight. Beneath the forest floor, beneath every leaf, root, and fallen branch, a hidden world is breathing. It doesn't rush. It doesn't sleep. It simply continues. Mushrooms are the quiet alchemists of the earth, turning death into life, light into nourishment, silence into connection. What we see, those delicate caps after rain, is only the surface. Beneath it stretches the mycelium, a living network that links trees and plants like a vast underground mind. Through it, forests share food, water, and warnings. It is communication without sound, intelligence without thought, a conversation written in chemistry. Tonight, we'll wander through that secret web, where light meets soil, and time moves at the pace of roots. We'll listen to how fungi heal the planet, shape its future, and quietly teach us how to rest. Before we begin, let me know in the comments where you're listening from tonight and what time it is where you are. Your words help other sleepy souls find their way to this quiet forest of sound. For now, let the earth breathe for you. Let the roots hold you steady. Let's begin. The forest floor is alive in ways we can't always see. Beneath the leaves, a thin layer of soil hides a complex network of fungi, a living skin that connects everything above it. Each footstep presses gently into that web, stirring threads that have been growing for centuries. Tiny filaments stretch through decaying bark and fallen needles, breaking them down into nourishment. In doing so, the fungi knit together death and growth, turning what has ended into what will begin. Every inch of ground hums softly with transformation. It is not chaos. To but perfect organization, nature's quiet architecture. To walk through a forest is to move across the surface of a breathing body, one that repairs itself without sound or motion. Life continues here in stillness, invisible yet constant, like the pulse of the earth. Beneath you, everything is connected, waiting and quietly alive. Below the roots of trees, mycelium weaves through the soil like white lightning frozen in time. It stretches for miles, sometimes connecting entire forests through a single organism. This network has no eyes, not brain, and yet it knows where to grow, moving towards food, water, and balance. Every thread is part of something larger, an endless lattice of connection. The mycelium senses changes in moisture, pH, and even the chemistry of nearby roots. It's a living map that constantly redraws itself, adjusting with patience. When a tree sends sugar downward, the mycelium shares it, passing nourishment to other roots in need. What looks like chaos underground is actually order, millions of threads speaking the language of survival. In its silence, the forest stays alive, whispering through these endless filaments. Mycelium doesn't just grow, it listens, learns, and remembers the shape of life beneath the soil. If you listen closely enough, the ground has a hum, not of sound, but of motion. Inside every handful of soil, billions of fungal threads move nutrients, carbon, and life from one place to another. Through these invisible corridors, the forest breathes and speaks. The hum is the rhythm of exchange, one cell giving, another receiving. Molecules of sugar travel like messages, feeding roots that have never met. The pulse of mycelium rises and falls with temperature, rain, and decay. When light fades, The rhythm continues. The forest doesn't sleep, it simply changes tempo. Even in deep silence, something is always moving beneath us. A slow conversation of chemistry and care. It's the soft heartbeat of nature. Unbroken, eternal. That hum is not noise. It is balance, the song of a planet keeping itself alive through threads finer than thought. Every forest is a network of families, and fungi are the unseen messengers that keep them in touch. Through mycorrhizal connections, those delicate bridges between roots and mycelium trees share nutrients, water, and even warning signals. When one tree suffers from drought or disease, its distress travels through these underground highways to others, prompting them to prepare. Old trees nurture saplings by sending them carbon through fungal threads, ensuring survival beyond their own lifespan. It's a community held together by generosity, not competition. Science calls it symbiosis. The forest calls it wisdom. The fungi do not take sides. They maintain harmony. What happens beneath the soil shapes every leaf, every flower above it. In that hidden exchange lies the forest's greatest secret, that cooperation. Not isolation keeps life steady. Fungi are the quiet translators of nature's intent, balancing what the roots can't say aloud. Down in the soil, communication travels in silence. Fungi and roots speak through chemicals, electrical impulses, and touch a language without sound, yet precise as any spoken word. When the soil dries, when the light shifts, when a root breaks, messages ripple outward through the network. There are no leaders here, no commands, only awareness shared freely. The silence that carries these signals is not empty, it's full of meaning, like whispers passed hand to hand. The forest listens, responds, and remembers. If you could slow time enough, you'd see these messages move like slow lightning, soft, luminous, alive. It's the same rhythm that beats in your own body, the same quiet intelligence that connects everything living. The soil isn't just dirt, it's language, memory, and care woven into one. Beneath your feet, the earth is speaking gently, patiently, always in silence. In the life of fungi, decay and renewal are the same act. When something falls, a branch, a leaf, an animal, fungi arrive not to end it, but to begin its transformation. Their filaments seep through what was once alive, breaking it down with patience and precision. In the process, they release nutrients, carbon, and minerals back into the soil. What seems like rot is actually a kind of generosity, life returning to the cycle that made it. This quiet recycling keeps forests breathing. Without fungi, fallen wood would pile endlessly, and soil would starve. Instead, decay becomes renewal, the invisible exchange that keeps balance alive. Every piece of death becomes part of something new. Every loss becomes nourishment. Fungal life is the art of letting go beautifully, the endless practice of turning endings into beginnings. Nothing wasted, nothing gone, only reshaped through quiet persistence. In the deepest parts of the forest, some wood glows softly in the dark. This gentle light comes from fungi, bioluminescent organisms that turn decay into radiance. Their glow is chemical poetry, luciferin reacting with oxygen inside the cells, creating a pale green shine. It's not bright enough to see by, but enough to feel wonder. In total darkness, it looks like starlight scattered across fallen logs. or like the Earth remembering its own constellations. Some believe the light helps attract insects to carry spores farther into the forest. Others think it's simply a byproduct of the fungi's breathing. Whatever its reason, the glow feels alive, calm, patient, and kind. It's the forest's nightlight, a sign that even in decomposition there can be beauty. In the softest silence, the woods illuminate themselves, one glowing thread at a time. Fairy rings form when fungi grow outward from a single point, expanding in perfect circles through the soil. Over years, sometimes centuries, the ring widens, leaving behind a faint pattern of lush grass or a circle of mushrooms after rain. Beneath the surface, the mycelium grows evenly in all directions, feeding on nutrients. Then moving on when the center runs dry, what's left behind is renewal, a greener, softer patch of earth. Folklore says fairies dance there. Science says it's balance made visible. The growth is so slow we almost never see it happening. But its rhythm continues without pause. Some rings have been expanding for hundreds of years, still alive, still tracing the geometry of patience. They are nature's fingerprints, quiet reminders that even movement invisible to us can shape the land forever. The forest doesn't rush, it grows in circles. Like time itself, beneath the forest, the exchange of nutrients happens faster than we can imagine. Through the mycelium, sugars, minerals, and water move at speeds that defy the stillness of the soil. Fungal threads act like living highways, carrying food to distant roots and retrieving what others release. In seconds, a molecule of carbon from one tree might reach another hundreds of feet away. The forest's metabolism is invisible but constant, a heartbeat of exchange pulsing through the dark. What looks quiet is actually full of motion, faster and more efficient than any human network. Even when the forest appears asleep, mycelium continues its work, redistributing energy where it's needed most. The unseen speed of this flow keeps life in perfect rhythm. It's not chaos, but harmony, countless tiny acts of sharing happening all at once, keeping the entire ecosystem alive beneath our feet. Through the mycelium, the forest remembers. It records what grew where, what died, what fed the soil. And when the rains came, this network holds traces of every season, storing wisdom in chemical patterns and electrical pulses. When a new sapling takes root, the fungi recognize it, connecting it to older trees that share what they've learned. The forest's memory is not written in books or rings, but in filaments, a living archive that hums softly underground. Even when a fire passes through or a drought silences the canopy, the memory remains below, ready to rebuild. It's as if the earth keeps a backup of itself within the fungi. What we call instinct in nature is often memory knowledge passed through generations of roots and spores. In every thread of mycelium, the past flows quietly into the present, keeping the forest whole. Follow the threads deeper, and the soil turns to story where the oldest fungi still remember the first forests, long before forests, before leaves or roots or even grass. Fungi were already here. They were the Earth's first great explorers, spreading across bare rock and volcanic dust, feeding on minerals and breaking the lifeless surface into something that could one day hold life. Without sunlight or chlorophyll, they thrived in darkness, using chemistry instead of photosynthesis. These ancient fungi formed mats that softened stone, turning solid rock into fertile ground, grain by grain. Every crumb of soil we know today began in that slow labor. Fungi colonized the planet when it was still harsh and silent, preparing the way for everything that would follow. Their patience built the foundation of life itself. Even now, they remain the unseen architects of habitability builders who never needed light to create the world of green that came after. Before plants could grow, fungi made a home for them. The first great alliance on Earth began between fungi and algae, two strangers, learning to live as one. Algae brought sunlight's energy. Fungi brought protection, minerals, and water. Together, they created something entirely new: lichens, living tapestries that could grow on stone, ice, and mountain peaks. This partnership was life's first great act of cooperation, a blueprint for ecosystems to come. Through it, barren rock became home, and color touched the world for the first time. Lichens paved the way for plants, holding soil where there had been none, inviting mosses and seeds to follow. In every patch of green-grey lichen clinging to cliffs, you can still see that original friendship, simple, ancient, unbroken. Fungi and algae taught the earth how to collaborate, how to turn scarcity into abundance, and how to endure together in places where neither could survive alone. Before plants ever touched land, to fungi were already sculpting it. They broke down volcanic stone and absorbed minerals with their long, patient filaments, weaving the first soil out of dust and time. These early fungi partnered with microscopic organisms to form networks that stabilized the surface, creating a thin, living layer across the planet. Over millions of years, this fragile skin thickened, holding moisture, trapping carbon, and softening the world for roots yet to come. Without this transformation, there would have been no soil for trees, no foundation for forests. Fungi prepared the earth quietly, using chemistry as their tool and decay as their craft. Even now, every patch of soil carries their ancient signature, the memory of a world they shaped before green had a name. The first gardeners were not plants or animals, but fungi, transforming stone into something that could one day grow life. Over more than 1 billion years, fungi have evolved from invisible threads into countless shapes, from microscopic molds to towering fruiting bodies that light the forest floor. They've adapted to heat, cold, and radiation, finding niches in nearly every corner of the planet. Some form delicate lace-like webs beneath trees. Others bloom overnight after rain, releasing clouds of spores that drift like dust across centuries. Fungi have survived mass extinctions, volcanic winters, and shifting continents, reshaping themselves each time the world changed. They are both ancient and adaptable, a lineage that has never stopped inventing new forms of life. In their slow evolution lies quiet genius, survival through flexibility, strength through softness. Every mushroom that appears today carries within it the code of its ancestors, 1 billion years of quiet resilience, growing patiently beneath our feet. Evolution didn't rush them. It made them eternal. Fossilized fungal spores tell the story of life's first steps onto land. Found in rocks older than 500 million years, they mark the beginning of the planet's transformation from stone to soil. These tiny capsules of history once floated through ancient air, settling into cracks and starting invisible empires. Each spore carried the potential to change landscapes, to build new ecosystems, one thread at a time. Some fossils show the imprint of branching mycelium, delicate filaments preserved in stone like frozen lightning. They reveal that fungi were here long before trees, before even moss, the first true inhabitants of land. These ancient spores are Earth's earliest handwriting, written in the language of chemistry and patience. When we look at them under a microscope, we are seeing the beginning of life's courage, a time when the planet learned to grow, one microscopic thread at a time. Long before dinosaurs or trees, a towering fungus ruled the land. Fossils reveal an organism called prototaxites, a colossal mushroom-like structure that reached nearly 20 feet high. For millions of years, it was the tallest living thing on Earth. No leaves, not branches, only pillars of spongy tissue absorbing moisture from the air and nutrients from the ground. Scientists believe these giants helped enrich the barren landscapes of the Silurian period, feeding soil and storing carbon long before plants took root. They were monuments of patience, vast living spires growing in silence while the planet prepared for forests. Their reign ended when trees finally appeared, replacing them in height but not importance. Prototaxites became part of the ground. It once towered over proof that even the mightiest life must one day return to the network below. Its quiet legacy remains in every forest floor today, hidden in the ocean's depths. Fungi share a bond with coral, an ancient partnership echoing their alliances on land. Marine fungi live within coral reefs, breaking down organic material and recycling nutrients that help the reef grow. In return, coral shelters them in its limestone structures. Some fungi even protect coral from disease, forming a microbial shield that stabilizes the fragile ecosystem. This link between fungus and coral is older than the first forests, showing that the fungal gift of cooperation extends far beyond soil. Both organisms are builders, one of reefs, one of roots. Together, they maintain balance in the sea, shaping islands, coastlines, and currents through cycles of life and decay. In the coral's glow, the memory of the forest stirs, a reminder that even underwater, fungi continue their quiet work, holding the world together, one invisible act at a time. The first forests rose because fungi learned to share. Mycorrhizal fungi, microscopic threads that connect plant roots, allowed the earliest trees to thrive on dry land. Before this partnership, plants struggled to gather enough water and minerals, but fungi, already masters of survival, offered their networks in exchange for sugars made through photosynthesis. It was the first great alliance between kingdoms, one that made forests possible through mycorrhizae. Roots became extensions of something greater. Tapping into the wisdom of the soil, forests spread, deepened, and diversified, turning barren landscapes into ecosystems. Even today, every living tree depends on this same relationship. The mycorrhizae beneath it act as guardians and translators, ensuring that no plant stands alone. The forest is not just trees, it's a living chorus conducted by fungi. The same ancient collaboration that built the first green canopy still hums beneath every forest floor today. When the earth was still young, stone covered its surface like armor. It took fungi to turn that stone into something fertile. Their filaments secreted acids that slowly dissolved minerals, freeing nutrients and mixing them with water to form the first primitive soil. Over time, these microscopic architects carved pathways through rock, allowing the first roots to anchor. The fungi's work reshaped the planet's crust, a patient chemistry that transformed hardness into softness. lifelessness into growth. Even now, fungal filaments continue this process, splitting pebbles, breaking down mountains, and enriching the ground grain by grain. Soil, the quiet foundation of every ecosystem, is a fungal creation, a masterpiece built through slow persistence. Each handful of dirt carries the memory of that transformation, the echo of stone becoming earth. Without fungi, the planet would still be hard and silent, waiting for something to begin breaking it open. Fungi were the first teachers of plants, guiding them onto land. Early plants had no roots capable of absorbing nutrients or water from the rocky surface. Fungi reached out, wrapping around their primitive stems, forming the first symbiotic connection. Through that partnership, plants learned to draw sustenance from the earth, and in return, they shared the sugars born from sunlight. This ancient lesson reshaped the planet, greening deserts, thickening air with oxygen, and laying the foundation for all terrestrial life. Even now, the roots of every living plant still remember that guidance, forming partnerships with mycorrhizal fungi just as their ancestors once did. Every forest, every meadow, every blade of grass owes its existence to that first exchange. The fungi didn't just help plants grow, they taught them how to belong to the land. From that wisdom, the world as we know it began to bloom, from the first rains to the first roots. Fungi were always there, turning stone into life, and silence into song. Beneath every forest lies a hidden internet, the wood wide web, a network of mycelium that connects trees across vast distances. Through it, information flows silently, warnings of drought, signals of disease, and messages of growth. It's a system older than words, older than leaves themselves. When scientists first discovered this underground communication, they realized forests are not collections of individuals, but communities held together by fungal threads. Through the network, ancient trees nurture saplings, while younger ones learn the rhythm of the forest. Mycelium doesn't just connect, it balances, ensuring survival through shared resources. Every rustle of leaf above begins with motion below, invisible yet constant. The forest floor, so quiet and still, hums with exchange every second. Beneath our feet, an entire civilization breathes and collaborates, unseen but alive, a web made not of machines or code, but of patience, generosity, and light translated into life. Water doesn't simply fall from the sky and soak the soil. It travels through an invisible network that fungi built long before roots learned how. Mycelium acts as the forest's plumbing, absorbing moisture from damp soil and carrying it through microscopic threads that weave between roots. When one tree stands in shade and another in sun, the shaded one receives water and nutrients through the fungal bridge. Mycelium moves droplets with astonishing precision, balancing hydration across entire ecosystems. Even in drought, the network ensures that no tree suffers alone. This underground distribution system is both delicate and vast. Its efficiency beyond human invention. It's nature's version of compassion, quiet, shared, and essential. While we see the forest as stillness, inside it moves constantly, pulsing with life. Through these filaments, every tree drinks not just from rain, but from the generosity of its neighbors. Fungi communicate through chemistry, a language written in scent, enzymes, and electric pulses. Mycelium detects changes in the environment, and sends signals through its threads to other organisms nearby. These messages are carried as molecules, sometimes traveling great distances to warn of pests, share resources, or balance the forest's chemistry. It's a conversation without sound, but full of meaning. Trees, in turn, respond by adjusting their growth or releasing sugars back into the network. The exchange is mutual, a dialogue of trust that has lasted millions of years. Each molecule carries intent, each pulse a decision. Scientists have measured faint electrical rhythms within mycelium. Like the forest's hidden heartbeat, it reacts, remembers, and sometimes even anticipates change. The chemical language of fungi is not random, it's fluent, expressive, and alive beneath every root. A conversation unfolds in perfect silence, sustaining life in the most intelligent way nature knows. If the forest had a nervous system, it would be made of mycelium. These threads act like neurons, sensing, transmitting, and responding to information across great distances. When something disturbs one part of the forest, the signal travels instantly through the fungal network, coordinating reactions that keep balance intact. Scientists have compared this system to the human brain for its complexity and responsiveness. Each node, each connection, helps the forest think as one organism. Through the mycelium, information becomes motion, new growth, chemical defense, or shared energy. This intelligence doesn't come from a single mind, but from connection itself. The forest doesn't control its parts, it harmonizes them. Mycelium is that harmony made visible, a delicate web of awareness stretching beneath the soil. In its quiet way, it shows that consciousness can exist not in individuals, but in the relationships that bind them together. When a tree dies, it doesn't vanish, it transforms through fungi. Mycelium moves into the decaying roots and wood, breaking them down into nutrients that feed the living. The dying tree becomes a source of strength for the forest around it. Its stored carbon and minerals released into the shared network. Through this process, the boundary between life and death blurs. What falls becomes food, what ends becomes beginning. Fungi are the translators of this exchange, turning stillness into motion, loss into renewal. Even as a trunk collapses into soil, its energy flows outward through the mycelium, nourishing seedlings and mosses that take its place. Death here is not silence, but generosity. The forest remembers through recycling. Every fallen tree remains part of the story. Through fungi, nothing is wasted, and everything continues, carried quietly into new forms of life. Beneath every step you take, carbon is flowing not as smoke or air, but as invisible motion through the soil. Mycelium carries carbon between roots and organisms, storing it deep underground where it nourishes new growth. Trees send carbon sugars downward after photosynthesis, and fungi distribute them like currency, trading them for minerals and water. This exchange keeps the planet balanced, recycling energy from sunlight into the quiet, dark. Even when leaves fall and decompose, their carbon doesn't disappear. It joins the underground pulse that feeds the next generation of life. It's a constant rhythm, moving faster than the eye can follow, slower than time itself. What burns in the sky during the day finds peace in the ground at night. Beneath your feet, the planet breathes in carbon, turning light into memory, movement into stability. The Earth's true heartbeat lives underfoot, silent, steady, and eternal. Fungi display a kind of intelligence that doesn't need a brain. When confronted with obstacles, they reroute growth patterns, seeking the shortest and most efficient path to food or water. In experiments, mycelium has solved mazes, recreated transport networks, and even learned from previous conditions. Each filament acts like a decision maker, adjusting based on feedback from its surroundings. This intelligence is not thought, but awareness, a sensitivity so refined it borders on strategy. Fungi don't plan, they respond perfectly. Their intelligence lies in adaptability, not prediction. They remember where resources once were and avoid areas that yielded nothing. It's as if the forest itself is thinking, one thread at a time. Through this responsiveness, fungi reveal that problem-solving isn't limited to minds. It can live in patterns, in rhythm, in the patient choreography of nature, continually refining itself beneath the surface. Under a microscope, fungal networks look uncannily like the human brain filaments branching, clustering, and forming nodes of connection. Each hypha acts like a neuron, transmitting information and energy across a vast system. Mycelium doesn't simply grow at random, it maps itself according to efficiency, creating pathways that mirror thought. Scientists studying these structures have found patterns of communication that echo neural activity, short bursts of electrical pulses, pauses, and repetition, almost like language. In the forest, this translates to awareness, the ability to distribute nutrients, respond to threats, and maintain balance. Fungal networks are the blueprint for how nature organizes knowledge through interconnection rather than isolation. When you look at mycelium, you're seeing the architecture of intelligence, the Earth's own version of a thinking network. It's not made of neurons, but it behaves as though it dreams slowly, quietly, through filaments of purpose and grace. Messages move through fungi faster than through roots. While plant roots are limited to slow chemical diffusion, mycelium uses microscopic channels that transmit information almost instantly through fluid and electric signals. In a way, it's nature's high-speed internet, relaying updates about soil moisture, nutrients, and danger long before a tree could respond on its own. The fungi share this information not for control, but for survival, ensuring the network stays balanced and alive. When drought approaches, fungal signals reach trees miles apart, prompting them to conserve water together. The entire forest behaves like one organism because of these invisible threads. Mycelium has mastered speed through simplicity, no hierarchy, no command, just constant, effortless exchange. It reminds us that communication doesn't always need sound or light. Sometimes it just needs connection, a web that never stops listening, never stops sending signals of care through the ground. The forest remembers in threads. Every nutrient passed, every drought endured, every death and rebirth leaves an imprint in the mycelium. These patterns of chemical and electrical activity form a kind of memory, not stored in neurons, but in structure. When conditions change, the network recalls what worked before, responding faster each time. In this way, the forest learns. It remembers where water flows best, where roots once grew, where sunlight fell centuries ago. The memory is communal, shared by all who are connected to the web. A tree that falls becomes knowledge for those that remain. Mycelium holds these memories quietly, updating the soil's living record, moment by moment. It's not memory like ours. It's deeper, slower, but no less real. Beneath the surface, The forest never forgets. It carries its entire history in silence, woven into the delicate pulse of fungal threads. Above ground, trees whisper through wind. Below, their voices travel through mycelium, a conversation older than sound. From a single mushroom, life multiplies on an unimaginable scale. Each fruiting body releases billions of spores, microscopic seeds drifting into the air. Carried by the faintest breeze, a single puff beneath a mushroom cap can release more spores than there are stars visible in the night sky. Most will never land where they can grow, but the few that do begin entire new colonies. Each spore carries within it the blueprint of its lineage, the memory of forest, rain, and decay. They drift silently through light and shadow, some traveling miles before finding a resting place. In that patience lies a quiet miracle. From invisibility comes renewal. The mushroom's true power isn't in its shape or color, but in its ability to vanish and return again. Every release is an act of faith, a reminder that creation begins with letting go into the wind. Under a microscope, spores reveal worlds within worlds, spirals, spikes, lattices, and perfectly symmetrical ovals that look more like jewelry than biology. Each species has its own intricate pattern, shaped by evolution's delicate craftsmanship. Some are smooth as glass, others armored like stars or snowflakes. These shapes aren't random. They help spores travel farther, cling to surfaces, or catch in the fur of passing animals. What seems invisible in the forest becomes extraordinary under magnification. Scientists study these patterns like fingerprints, unique to every kind of fungus. The beauty of spores lies in their purpose. Every ridge, every curve, designed for survival. It's a reminder that even the smallest parts of nature hold entire galaxies of structure and intent. Beneath the lens, you realize how much elegance the forest hides in plain sight. Tiny sculptures drifting quietly through air and time. When a mushroom releases its spores, it doesn't scatter them blindly. Wind and rain become its allies, carrying microscopic travelers across landscapes. Gentle breezes lift spores skyward, where they may drift for days before settling again. Raindrops splash them outward, spreading them across moss, bark, and leaf litter. Even storms serve a purpose, hurling life into unexpected places. Through this dance, the forest ensures diversity, new colonies growing far from their origins. Some spores fall on stones and wait for centuries. Others land perfectly and begin to weave new mycelium within hours. Weather is not a challenge for fungi, but a partner in their endless cycle. Wind and water turn the invisible into migration, turning every storm into a quiet act of creation, what we call chants. Nature calls rhythm the timeless choreography that keeps life moving softly through the air. In the right light, spores form shimmering clouds above the forest floor. When moonlight passes through them, they glitter faintly, suspended like mist made of stars. This delicate haze, invisible by day, reveals itself only when the night is still. Some biologists describe it as spore rain, falling so slowly it takes hours to settle. Each grain glows for a heartbeat before vanishing into shadow. To witness it is to see creation mid-breath, the moment life leaves one form and seeks another. It's not magic, yet it feels like it, a natural constellation born from fungi. The spores move without sound or effort, guided only by air's quiet currents. The forest becomes an inverted sky, stars below instead of above, glowing softly as they drift toward the soil. Even in the dark, the world finds ways to sparkle with renewal. When the cap of a mushroom is placed gently on paper or glass, it leaves behind a spore print, a delicate pattern radiating outward like a mandala. Each print is unique, shaped by the gill's geometry and the way light, humidity, and time interact. The colors vary: white, brown, purple, even black, subtle signatures of different species. To make one is to witness art emerging from biology, nature revealing its secret handwriting. Spore prints are more than identification tools. They're proof that beauty and purpose coexist. Every print tells a story of transformation, a record of the mushroom's final act before fading. It's the echo of dispersal, the stillness after motion. In those fine, powdery lines, the forest leaves its fingerprint, as if signing its name on the surface of time itself. Each spore drifts like a seed of night falling, waiting, becoming until the forest breathes again. Spores are among the most resilient travelers in existence, capable of surviving where almost nothing else can. In laboratory experiments and space missions, some spores have endured the vacuum beyond Earth, exposed to cosmic radiation, freezing temperatures, and total silence. Protected by their microscopic walls, they remain dormant, waiting for warmth, moisture, or gravity to awaken them again. Even in space, life doesn't vanish. It pauses, patient and still. These spores may drift for years, even centuries, before finding a place to grow. Their survival challenges our understanding of where life can exist, suggesting that it might spread between planets, carried by dust and chance. A single spore could, in theory, cross galaxies if given time enough. Theirs is a lesson in endurance, that persistence does not always roar. Sometimes it floats quietly through the dark, waiting for the moment to begin again. High above the clouds, spores travel continents on invisible highways of air. The jet stream, those powerful currents of wind that circle the planet, carries them thousands of miles from their origin. Some drift from one hemisphere to another, riding storms and seasonal changes, microscopic yet unstoppable. They seed forests and ocean away. Researchers have found fungal spores in snow from Antarctica, in mountain air over Japan, and even in the upper atmosphere above the Sahara. Each one is a tiny explorer, using nothing but wind to reach new worlds. Their journey is a reminder that nature's reach is vast and effortless. Fungi don't need wings or engines. They rely on air, patience, and time. While humans map continents by compass and satellite, spores navigate by silence, letting the planet's breath decide where life should begin again next. From spore to fruiting body, the fungal life cycle unfolds like a slow breath. A single spore lands on soil, moss, or decaying wood, then begins to grow microscopic filaments called hyphae. These threads stretch outward, seeking others like themselves. When two compatible hyphae meet, they merge, forming mycelium, the true body of the fungus. For months or years, it spreads underground, unseen but busy, breaking down matter and feeding on life's leftovers. Only when conditions are perfect, the right temperature, moisture, and light, does the mushroom appear above ground. It blooms briefly, releasing its own spores to begin the cycle again. From invisibility to abundance, from stillness to bloom, fungi embody nature's quiet rhythm. What seems sudden is simply patience revealed. Each mushroom is the surface echo of a much deeper process life unfolding slowly, deliberately, with perfect calm beneath the soil. Some fungi bloom only once in a lifetime, and that lifetime may span centuries. Hidden deep underground, certain species remain dormant until the right combination of rain, heat, and nutrients awakens them. They wait through droughts, through seasons, through generations of trees. This extreme patience ensures survival, allowing them to bloom when competition is lowest and the earth is ready to receive them again. Fossil evidence suggests that some fungal species have remained genetically unchanged for millions of years, thriving by waiting. Their dormancy is not sleep, but awareness slowed to near stillness. When they finally emerge, their fruiting bodies release clouds of spores, continuing a cycle that has lasted longer than mountains. To witness such a bloom is to see time made visible, nature revealing that even in silence, there is preparation, and that waiting is its own form of strength. A single spore carries the essence of patience, an entire organism folded into something smaller than dust. Inside its shell lies everything needed to rebuild life: DNA, memory, and the ability to awaken when the world allows. It can rest untouched for years, through frost, heat, and hunger, until the conditions whisper, yes. That patience is nature's greatest art: movement without motion, hope without expectation. When the moment comes, the spore opens, not with noise, but with grace, sending out threads that join the larger web of life. Its lesson is simple: growth takes time, and time always provides. Every forest, every mushroom, every breath of air is proof of that patience unfolding endlessly. In one quiet grain lies the entire story of persistence, the still heartbeat of the world, waiting beneath every fallen leaf. Each spore drifts like a seed of night falling, waiting, becoming until the forest breathes again. In the darkest corners of the forest, ghost mushrooms glow with an otherworldly blue-green light. Their soft luminescence, caused by a chemical reaction between luciferin and oxygen, turns night into something quietly alive. From fallen logs to hidden tree roots, they shimmer like scattered stars beneath the canopy. The glow is steady, not flickering, bathing the ground in a dreamlike calm. Some scientists believe the light attracts insects that spread the mushroom's spores. Others think it is simply the byproduct of their metabolism. But to those who walk the forest at night, the reason doesn't matter. The glow feels like breath, like the forest remembering its own heartbeat. Bioluminescent fungi remind us that even decay can shine, that death is only another form of light. In their faint radiance, the night loses its edge, and the earth itself seems to whisper softly through color instead of sound. Among the mist and fallen leaves of autumn, bright red caps rise from the forest floor. The fly agaric, one of nature's most striking mushrooms. Its crimson skin is dotted with white specks, the remains of a protective veil that once wrapped it in youth. To some, it looks dangerous. To others, beautiful. For centuries, it has appeared in myths, fairy tales, and folklore, the classic toadstool of magic and mystery. Beneath its vivid color lies a warning. The fly agaric contains powerful toxins that can alter perception, reminding us that beauty in nature often carries caution, yet its presence brings warmth to cold seasons, to a burst of color in fading woods. The red cap doesn't ask to be touched or understood. It simply exists as contrast proof that the forest can still surprise the eye. Even when everything else has turned to brown and gold, some mushrooms are alive to the touch, their skin sensitive enough to change color when brushed. In these reactive species, pressure or oxygen exposure triggers chemical shifts that alter pigments instantly. A gentle tap can turn white to blue, yellow to green, or brown to deep violet. Scientists call this oxidation, but in the quiet of the forest, it feels more like emotion. The fungi blushing at contact, responding softly to the world around them. These color changes serve many purposes: protection, camouflage, or simply signaling maturity. Each transformation is temporary, a fleeting reaction that soon fades back into stillness. Yet in that brief change, nature reveals its responsiveness, its living sensitivity. A mushroom that changes color reminds us that the forest feels, reacts, and adapts in ways far beyond what we can see, a living canvas that responds to even the lightest touch of attention. Under the microscope, the hidden artistry of fungi reveals itself, patterns so intricate they resemble lacework, crystals, and galaxies all at once. The gills, spores, and surfaces of mushrooms form mathematical perfection at a scale smaller than dust. Each ridge, groove, and filament follows geometry shaped by evolution and patience. Some look like coral, others like frost. These designs are not decoration but function, maximizing surface area for spore release, capturing moisture, or reflecting light. Yet the result is undeniably beautiful. A reminder that efficiency and elegance are often the same. Scientists studying these microscopic patterns find inspiration for architecture, materials, and art. To look closely at fungi is to peer into nature's blueprint, a design both chaotic and ordered, familiar, yet infinite. In every cell lies the quiet intelligence of form, turning survival into beauty and purpose into art. The underside of a mushroom cap reveals a perfect lesson in geometry, gills radiating outward like spokes of light. This fractal design allows the fungus to hold billions of spores within a small space, maximizing reproduction through efficiency. Each gill mirrors the structure of larger, natural forms: rivers branching, leaves vining, lightning dividing across the sky. The same mathematical patterns repeat in scales both immense and tiny. When viewed closely, the gills appear almost architectural, a cathedral of repetition and grace. Nature's love for fractals shows itself here with quiet precision. Nothing wasted, nothing added, just the pure logic of design shaped by time. These delicate folds are not only functional but mesmerizing, reminding us that order hides beneath randomness. The mushroom, humble and silent, carries in its structure the same infinite symmetry that builds mountains, storms, and galaxies themselves. Light fades above the forest, but below, tiny lamps of life still glow, keeping the darkness kind. In certain forests, faint lights shimmer along the paths at night, not from fireflies or starlight, but from luminescent fungi glowing softly on fallen logs and leaves. These mushrooms release a pale green hue, bright enough to outline roots and guide nocturnal creatures through the dark. The glow comes from enzymes reacting with oxygen, the same quiet chemistry found in deep sea life. To walk among them feels like entering another world, one where the forest itself holds its own lanterns. The light is constant, unhurried, and alive. Some cultures once used these glowing fungi to mark trails or decorate ceremonies, trusting their soft radiance to keep fear away. Even in total darkness, the earth provides its own stars beneath our feet. Every glow is a reminder that light doesn't belong only to the sky. It also blooms gently in the soil, where life and decay share the same quiet grace. Look long enough, and mushrooms resemble stars, scattered points of light against the dark canvas of the forest floor. Each one, small yet luminous, mirrors the constellations above. The symmetry is no coincidence. Both follow patterns of distribution that arise naturally from harmony and balance. The spaces between mushrooms mimic the spaces between stars, gaps that make the pattern whole in their shape and rhythm. The forest and the night sky reflect each other, microcosm and macrocosm, above and below. Ancient cultures noticed this resemblance and told stories of cosmic seeds falling to earth, sprouting as mushrooms after rain. To them, the forest floor was a reflection of the heavens. Even today, when you stand beneath trees at night, you might feel that connection, the quiet realization that what glows above and what grows below are part of the same pattern of endless creation. In the early morning, when mist still clings to the air, dew gathers perfectly on mushroom caps, round droplets forming like jewels across their curved surfaces. The texture of the cap, covered in microscopic ridges and hydrophobic coatings, repels water just enough to let it rest without soaking in. Each droplet magnifies the colors beneath, turning dull browns to gold and white to silver. As sunlight filters through the canopy, these droplets sparkle briefly before vanishing into vapor. The moment lasts only minutes, but in that time, the forest seems to breathe light. Dew on mushrooms is more than beauty, it's survival. The droplets help regulate temperature, protect delicate tissue, and reflect excess heat. Nature wastes nothing. Even condensation becomes purpose. Watching it feels like witnessing balance made visible. The quiet collaboration between air, water, and earth working together at dawn. Fungi paint the world with colors rarely seen elsewhere, from deep blues and purples to rusted oranges and luminous greens. Their pigments come from a chemistry both functional and beautiful. Some pigments protect against sunlight, others ward off insects, and some act as camouflage against soil and bark. Under ultraviolet light, hidden hues emerge, glowing yellows or soft pinks invisible to the naked eye. These colors are not random, they're coded messages to the environment, balancing attraction and defense. Artists and scientists alike study these pigments to create natural dyes and medicines, finding inspiration in their quiet variety. The palette of fungi is the palette of life itself, one that changes with moisture, temperature, and time. Each shade tells a story of adaptation, a masterpiece painted slowly in silence. In the dim light of the forest, their colors remain subtle, but endlessly alive. Walk through a damp forest, and you'll see mushrooms painting it back to life. They restore color to decay splashes of red, yellow, and violet rising from fallen wood. Their presence transforms rot into beauty, turning the forgotten into the luminous. Every cap, every stem, adds to the forest's palette, creating harmony where there might have been only grey. These are nature's quiet painters. Working without canvas or brush, they use enzymes instead of pigment, decomposition instead of destruction. As they feed, they brighten the world they're consuming. Without them, the woods would fade into monotone stillness. With them, the earth glows with renewal. Their artistry is not for show but for balance, the expression of life through transformation. Mushrooms remind us that beauty and function can be one and the same, and that creation often begins with what is being undone. Light fades above the forest, but below, tiny lamps of life still glow, keeping the darkness kind. Fungi are the planet's great recyclers, quietly turning death into nourishment. When leaves fall, trees collapse, or animals return to the soil, fungal threads move in, weaving through what remains. Their enzymes break apart complex molecules, lignin, cellulose, even bone, transforming them into simple nutrients that can be used again. Nothing is wasted. The forest's balance depends on this endless cycle of digestion and renewal. Without fungi, the world would drown in its own remains. With them, decay becomes creation. They are the alchemists of the ecosystem, taking what seems lost and returning it as life. Every breath of a forest, every green leaf, owes itself to their invisible labor. Fungi are not destroyers but caretakers, turning endings into beginnings so quietly that we almost forget how much the living world depends on their tireless work beneath the surface. Decay is not destruction, it is chemistry, and fungi are its greatest chemists. When they decompose fallen matter, they release a cascade of biochemical reactions that free trapped energy and nutrients. Their secret lies in the enzymes they produce, which unlock bonds too strong for most life to break. Through decay, fungi transform the dead into the living again, completing the circle that keeps ecosystems alive. This process releases carbon to feed plants, nitrogen to enrich soil, and countless trace minerals needed for growth. The smell of a healthy forest, rich, sweet, and earthy, comes from this quiet activity. Every crumble of wood, every dark patch of humus, is a sign of their work. It's not destruction we walk upon, but transformation in progress, a chemistry that feeds every sprouting seed. Fungi teach that even in breaking down, life continues to build. Some fungi can digest more than wood or leaf. They can break down what humans cannot. Certain species produce enzymes that dissolve plastic, oil, and even toxic waste, turning pollution into harmless compounds. These mycorrhidiators are nature's cleanup crew, quietly undoing the damage of industry. Scientists have used them to restore contaminated soil and clean up oil spills, watching them turn poison into food. The process is slow, but steady. No machines, no noisy, just life reclaiming balance. Fungi see no difference between a dead tree and a discarded bottle. Both are material waiting to be transformed. Their chemistry is compassion written in biology, the ability to heal what seems beyond repair. One day, these same species may help us renew the earth, reminding us that nature's simplest organisms often hold the most extraordinary power to restore what we've broken. When wood falls and softens over time, mycelium moves in, weaving through its fibers like thread through fabric. Slowly, it breaks the wood down, absorbing nutrients and leaving behind rich, dark soil. This transformation can take months or years, depending on the tree, the moisture, and the air, but the process never stops. What was once solid becomes soft, then powder, then earth again. Every forest floor is made of countless generations of trees reborn this way. Mycelium turns the past into foundation, feeding roots that will one day grow above. In every handful of soil lies a history of transformation, the memory of trunks and branches reduced to nourishment. It's an ancient exchange, perfected by patience. The forest doesn't erase its dead, it reincarnates them quietly through fungal hands. The next generation rises, not from nothing, but from the gift of what came before, the scent of rain on dry earth. That rich, nostalgic aroma comes from a conversation between fungi and water. When raindrops strike the ground, they release tiny spores that burst with a compound called geosmin, created by soil fungi. Geosmin carries that earthy, grounding fragrance we recognize instantly as the smell of rain. It's the forest exhaling after waiting too long for moisture. The air fills with life's signature microscopic particles drifting upward, announcing renewal. This scent is ancient, older than language, reminding every creature that water has returned, even after storms pass. The smell lingers like memory, the invisible trace of fungi awakening beneath the soil. In that fragrance lies connection, the union of sky and earth through chemistry. Rain doesn't just fall, it activates the living world below, and fungi answer, perfuming the air with the scent of rebirth. Certain mushrooms have learned to cleanse the earth. In polluted forests and damaged soil, they grow quietly, breaking down toxins that other organisms cannot touch. Some species absorb heavy metals, others digest oil, pesticides, or radiation. Their mycelium acts like a living filter, trapping poison and transforming it into harmless minerals. This natural process, called mycoremediation, heals land scarred by human industry. It's slow, silent, and astonishingly effective. In places once considered dead, mushrooms rise again, turning waste into nourishment. They don't fight pollution, they transform it. With no machines or chemicals, they restore the balance the world has lost. Where we see ruin, fungi see possibility. Beneath the surface, they rebuild the planet, molecule by molecule, showing that recovery doesn't always come from power or speed, but from patience, the steady persistence of life, determined to begin again. No matter the damage left behind, decomposers live by a secret rhythm, a metabolism unlike anything else on Earth. Fungi feed not by consuming directly, but by releasing enzymes that digest matter outside their bodies. They liquefy wood, leaf, and bone, then absorb only what they need. It's an external stomach, a chemistry lab built from threads. Through this slow digestion, energy flows back into the ecosystem. Nothing is wasted, nothing lost. This process is invisible to us, yet it shapes everything we see: the fallen tree, the compost pile, the fertile field. All owe their richness to fungal metabolism. Their patience defines the pace of nature itself. Even as we sleep, the decomposers continue their silent work, dissolving what has ended and preparing what will grow. The forest never stops eating, never stops healing. Through decay, fungi sustain the pulse of life, an endless cycle of consumption that always leads to renewal. Fungi are vital custodians of the planet's carbon. Through decomposition and mycorrhizal partnerships, they store immense amounts of carbon underground, preventing it from returning to the atmosphere. When trees die, fungi absorb their carbon-rich material, locking much of it into stable organic matter deep in the soil. This slow storage balances the planet's climate, acting as a natural regulator for temperature and growth. Some of the world's oldest forests owe their stability to this hidden network, holding more carbon than all the atmosphere above. Without fungi, the carbon cycle would collapse, flooding the air with gases that suffocate balance. Instead, they keep the exchange steady, breathing in what plants release, exhaling it back only when the earth is ready. Beneath every forest, a quiet negotiation unfolds, unseen but essential. Fungi remind us that true stability often depends on what lies below, not what stands tall above. Without decay, the planet would choke beneath its own abundance. Fallen trees would pile endlessly, leaves would never vanish, and nutrients would remain locked away in lifeless matter. Fungi prevent that paralysis. Through decomposition, they return carbon, nitrogen, and minerals to the soil, feeding the cycle of growth that keeps life in motion. They are the Earth's recyclers, the silent regulators that make renewal possible. Every fruit, every seed, every creature depends on their work, though most will never see it. In their absence, the world would stop breathing, the rhythm of birth and death frozen in imbalance. Decay is not loss, it's the planet's form of exhale, releasing what must be returned. Fungi ensure that each ending nourishes the beginning that follows. Without them, Earth would be a graveyard of stillness. With them, it remains a living, breathing organism, endlessly transforming itself. Beneath our feet, the fungi tend to the earth like invisible gardeners. Their mycelial threads move through soil, balancing moisture, cleaning impurities, and nourishing roots. They mend what storms to fire and drought undo. Wherever they spread, life follows. These gardeners do not prune or plant, they weave. They guide the growth of ecosystems without control or ownership, restoring harmony molecule by molecule. Every patch of fertile ground is their creation. Each harvest, each bloom, a quiet collaboration between the surface and the unseen. We rarely notice their presence. But every healthy forest, every green field, is proof of their care. The world above thrives because of what happens below in their tireless work. Fungi embody the essence of restoration, patience, generosity, and balance. Through their unseen hands, nature keeps its promise to renew itself again and again. Even after the darkest decay, where others see endings, fungi see beginnings. Each decay, a promise that life will rise again. Since the beginning of civilization, humans have lived beside mushrooms, gathering, cultivating, and worshipping them long before understanding their nature. Ancient people saw fungi as symbols of mystery, appearing overnight and disappearing just as quickly. Some were food, some were poison, and some were portals to altered states of mind. Cave paintings in Spain and temples in Mexico depict humans holding mushrooms like sacred gifts. In colder regions, they were used for warmth and healing. In tropical forests, for ritual and connection. Across continents, fungi became companions of survival, shaping diet, medicine, and myth. Even now, tradition continue. From truffle hunters in Europe to mycologists studying the forest's unseen heart, the relationship has always been intimate, built on curiosity and trust. Humanity didn't discover mushrooms, it grew up with them, following their quiet lessons about balance, impermanence, and the art of transformation. Long before chemistry had a name, humans learned to use fungi to shape flavor and preserve food. the yeast that makes bread rise, the molds that turn milk into cheese, and the fermentations that create beer and wine are all gifts of the fungal kingdom. Each process depends on tiny organisms breaking down sugars, releasing gases, and transforming simple ingredients into nourishment. These ancient collaborations began by accident wild spores settling into dough or milk, yet became cornerstones of civilization. Entire cultures built their cuisines around fungal fermentation, turning scarcity into abundance. Every loaf, every sip, carries the signature of invisible life working in harmony with human hands. Fungi taught us that transformation isn't destruction, it's creation through patience. Even today, we continue that ancient dance, feeding them so they may feed us back in flavor. Sustenance and quiet perfection. In ancient times, healers turned to mushrooms not just as medicine, but as gateways to understanding. Sacred fungi were used in rituals to treat illness, guide dreams, and open the mind to unseen realities. Civilizations in Mesoamerica, Siberia, and Egypt all revered certain mushrooms as divine messengers, calling them flesh of the gods. Their healers believed these fungi revealed the spirit within the world, showing that body and nature were never separate. While some species eased pain or reduced fever, others sparked visions that shaped art, myth, and religion. These practices were more than superstition. They were early forms of biochemistry wrapped in ritual. Ancient healers understood that mushrooms carried both danger and wisdom, and their careful use became part of humanity's spiritual evolution. To them, fungi were bridges between sickness and health, dream and waking, earth and the infinite above. The discovery of penicillin changed the course of human history, and it began with a fungus. In 1928, Alexander Fleming noticed that a mold called Penicillium notatum had killed bacteria growing in his laboratory dishes. That simple observation became the foundation of modern antibiotics, saving countless lives. Fungi revealed that within their delicate structures lay powerful chemical defenses, compounds that could heal humans by fighting infection. From this discovery, medicine entered a new era, where fungal chemistry became a cornerstone of science. Penicillin's origin story reminds us that some of humanity's greatest breakthroughs come not from invention, but from attention, from noticing nature's quiet work and learning from it. A mold growing in forgotten dishes became one of the most important medicines ever made, proving again that the smallest lives can hold the largest miracles. Today, fungi continue to heal in ways we're only beginning to understand. Modern medicine uses fungal compounds to fight cancer, boost immunity, and repair cellular damage. Immunotherapy drugs, cholesterol treatments, and organ transplant medications all trace their roots to fungal chemistry. Some species are studied for their ability to regenerate nerves, while others may slow aging or improve mental health. Each discovery reveals another layer of their intelligence, the way fungi balance destruction and restoration, poison and cure, in hospitals, in laboratories, in quiet forests. The same organisms that decompose wood are helping us live longer, healthier lives. The boundary between nature and science fades here. Fungi bridge it effortlessly. Their lessons remain the same as they've always been, that healing doesn't come from dominance, but from listening to what the smallest voices in nature have been saying all along. We thought we found fungi, but they had already found us, growing quietly beside every human dream, long before science explained their glow. People saw bioluminescent mushrooms as the work of spirits. In ancient forests, travelers would follow trails lit by faint green light, believing it to be guidance from ancestors or forest gods. Some tribes used glowing fungi in rituals, decorating paths or sacred spaces to symbolize rebirth and illumination. In Japan, glowing mushrooms were thought to hold the souls of the dead. In Central America, they marked places where divine energy lingered. Even today, their soft radiance feels enchanted, neither bright nor cold, but alive. The glow isn't fire or reflection, it's chemistry transformed into art. Oxygen meets luciferin, and the forest begins to breathe light. These fungi blur the line between myth and science, reminding us that wonder often begins in darkness. What once seemed magic remains magical. Still, the earth's quiet lanterns, glowing patiently beneath the ancient trees. Fungi have long inspired human imagination, shaping stories, symbols, and art across cultures. The whimsical forms of mushrooms became the homes of fairies in European folklore, while in Asia, the reishi and lingji mushrooms symbolized longevity and spiritual awakening. Their symmetry, colors, and mystery found their way into paintings, embroidery, and architecture. Artists mimicked their patterns, poets wrote of their fleeting beauty. Even in modern design, mycelium's organic branching has inspired cities, textiles, and networks. Fungi represent transformation, the beauty that comes from decay, the circle that turns loss into creation. Their quiet resilience speaks to something deeply human, the need to find meaning in impermanence. From ancient cave carvings to surrealist art, mushrooms appear again and again, both real and metaphorical, teaching us that creativity, like fungi, thrives best in darkness, nourished by the unseen. In laboratories and workshops around the world, mycelium has become a new kind of building material, strong, lightweight, and completely natural. When grown in molds, it forms dense structures that can replace plastic, foam, or even wood. Designers craft furniture, packaging, and entire homes from living mycelium, letting it grow into shape before drying it to harden. The result is beautiful and biodegradable architecture born from biology. This innovation mirrors what fungi have always done in nature, weaving strength from decay, creating form from formlessness. The structures are fire-resistant, carbon-neutral, and alive with organic texture. Each piece feels both futuristic and ancient. Grown rather than made, humans are finally learning to build the way the forest does, gently, sustainably, and in rhythm with the earth. Mycelium doesn't just decompose anymore, it constructs, proving that the intelligence of fungi extends into the very materials of our future. The scent of earth after rain, that unmistakable, nostalgic fragrance comes from fungi. It's created by a compound called geosmin, released by spores when raindrops strike dry soil. Geosmin's aroma is deep and grounding, reminding us of growth, fertility, and home. It's one of the oldest scents on the planet, a chemical signature of renewal. Animals are drawn to it, plants respond to it, and humans breathe it in with comfort. We can't quite explain. This smell connects air to soil, sky to ground, the invisible moment when life reawakens after drought. Every drop of rain becomes a key, unlocking the Earth's hidden perfume. It is not simply a smell, it's the voice of the planet, saying it remembers us. Through that breath of damp air, fungi remind us that we too are part of this cycle, returning, renewing, belonging again. Fungi have quietly shaped human history in ways both seen and unseen. They guided agriculture through fermentation, preserved food in times of scarcity, and fueled revolutions in medicine. Entire economies rose around yeast, bread, and beer, the invisible laborers of civilization. They've influenced exploration, trade, and even art, from ink and dye production to the discovery of antibiotics. Mycelium's footprint is in our architecture, our stories, our bodies. Without fungi, there would be no penicillin, no cheese, no wine, no soil fertile enough for crops. Their presence is written between the lines of history, not in monuments, but in meals and medicines, in the air itself. Humanity's progress has always rested on their quiet work. When we trace our past, we find fungal fingerprints everywhere, marking every age with their gentle, transformative touch, patiently shaping our world as they've always done. We thought we found fungi, but they had already found us. Growing quietly beside every human dream, scientists and designers now see mycelium as one of the most promising materials of the future. It grows quickly, requires no light, and feeds on waste, turning discarded plant matter into solid, usable form. When cultivated in specific shapes, it becomes lightweight, strong, and biodegradable, a perfect alternative to plastics and cement. Entire industries are experimenting with mycelium composites for insulation, textiles, and even electronics. Unlike traditional materials, it heals small cracks on its own and can return safely to the earth when discarded. Mycelium doesn't demand extraction or pollution. It simply grows, patiently and efficiently. In it, humanity finds a partner for sustainable creation, one that mirrors nature's intelligence. The future may not be built from steel or stone, but from the quiet networks beneath our feet. Mycelium reminds us that progress doesn't have to fight nature. Sometimes, it just has to grow alongside it. Fungal leather is revolutionizing how we think about design and sustainability. Grown from layers of mycelium, this material mimics the texture and strength of animal hide, but without cruelty or waste. It forms naturally within days, shaped by temperature, humidity, and the nutrients it feeds on. When pressed and treated, it becomes supple, durable, and breathable, perfect for clothing, shoes, and upholstery. Unlike synthetic leather, it's fully biodegradable and leaves no chemical trace behind. Companies around the world are now cultivating this living fabric, blending technology and biology into one seamless process. Each sheet is unique, grown rather than manufactured, reflecting the organic geometry of the fungus it came from. Fungal leather doesn't just replace animal products, it redefines them, offering a future where elegance and ethics intertwine. It's proof that innovation doesn't always require invention sometimes. It just requires listening to how nature already works. Across the world, designers are now growing packaging, furniture, and even architectural structures from fungi. Mycelium molds itself into any form, bonding naturally into lightweight yet sturdy material. From biodegradable coffee cups to building panels, It's reshaping manufacturing into something alive and circular, instead of factories that pollute. We now have workshops that grow. The process requires almost no energy, only humidity, warmth, and time. When finished, these creations can be composted, returning to the soil that gave them life. It's design without destruction. Architecture that breathes. Some architects even imagine entire homes that grow themselves, walls that repair over time, and structures that recycle their own waste. Mycelium has become a blueprint for regeneration construction that doesn't fight decay but embraces it. In its soft strength lies the future of design, elegant, sustainable, and quietly alive. Humanity's next buildings may grow like forests, one thread at a time. Imagine a world where construction doesn't damage the planet but heals it. That's the promise of carbon-negative design powered by fungi. Mycelium absorbs carbon dioxide as it grows, locking it away in the material instead of releasing it. When used in architecture, it offsets emissions from other building components, creating structures that help cool the earth rather than warm it. Growing walls, bricks, and insulation from fungi could change the foundation of human industry, turning one of our most polluting sectors into a restorative one. Each building made from mycelium becomes part of the planet's respiration, a home that breathes with the world instead of against it. The idea isn't fantasy, it's already being tested. Carbon-negative construction represents not just innovation, but harmony. The materials of tomorrow will not just stand on Earth, they will belong to it completely. Modern biodesign looks to fungi for inspiration, imitating their structure to create systems that are efficient, self-repairing, and interconnected. Architects and engineers study how mycelium grows, branching, merging, optimizing, and use those patterns to design cities, data networks, and infrastructure. This approach sees technology not as separate from nature, but as an extension of it. Mycelium's fractal structure teaches that strength comes from flexibility and resilience comes from cooperation. Biodesigners now craft fabrics that heal, electronics that decompose, and robotics that move like living tissues, all modeled after fungal intelligence. Through imitation, humanity learns humility. The same patterns that sustain a forest can sustain civilization. By mimicking mycelium, we learn how to build in rhythm with the planet instead of in opposition. The future of innovation isn't domination, it's understanding, and fungi are our greatest teachers in that quiet art. The more we learn from fungi, the more we remember that strength can grow softly, quietly, and kind. Fungal technology is finding its way into medicine and even electronics, revealing how far nature's intelligence can reach. In labs, researchers are using mycelium to grow medical implants that safely dissolve in the body after healing, and to create circuits made from biodegradable materials that conduct electricity like metal. Some fungi produce natural nanowires, tiny threads that can store energy or transmit signals. These discoveries suggest a future where technology is alive, adaptable, and sustainable, where machines can heal and devices can return to the earth without harm. Fungi blur the line between biology and engineering, showing that innovation doesn't need to be synthetic to be powerful. Their flexible structures and self-repairing systems could redefine how we build everything from prosthetics to computers. It's not science fiction, it's evolution continuing its quiet work life, teaching us once again how to create without destroying. Scientists have begun cultivating mushrooms that glow brightly enough to replace artificial light. By isolating the genes responsible for fungal bioluminescence and enhancing them, researchers are designing natural lamps that feed on waste instead of electricity. In controlled environments, these glowing mushrooms can illuminate paths, greenhouses, and art installations with gentle, renewable radiance. Their light is alive, breathing and changing with humidity and time. It doesn't burn or flicker. It glows like moonlight, cool, kind, and sustainable. Unlike conventional bulbs, fungal lighting produces no heat, emits no toxins, and nourishes rather than consumes. One day, we may live among living lights that grow instead of being manufactured. These glowing organisms remind us that illumination doesn't always come from flame or filament. Sometimes it grows quietly in darkness, asking for nothing but a little care and the patience to shine at its own pace. Fungi are now revolutionizing how we grow food. Using mycelial networks, scientists cultivate high-protein, nutrient-rich foods with minimal land and water. These fungal crops require no sunlight, pesticides, or animal feed-only organic waste, which they convert into edible biomass. The result is sustainable food that can grow anywhere, even in cities or barren soil. Mycelium-based meat alternatives are already nourishing millions, offering both flavor and ethics. Beyond human consumption, fungi help regenerate farmlands by restoring soil health and balance. They rebuild what industrial agriculture often depletes. Through this system, food becomes part of a circular ecosystem, waste turning to sustenance, turning to growth. The process echoes how forests feed themselves, quietly, efficiently, and endlessly. In fungi's way of growing, we glimpse a gentler agriculture, one where nourishment no longer demands destruction, and where abundance and balance finally mean the same thing. After wildfires, fungi are often the first life to return. Their spores drift into the ashes, seeking the minerals and warmth that remain. Within weeks, white mycelial threads spread through the scorched soil, breaking down toxins and unlocking nutrients buried in the burn. As they grow, they make the ground habitable again, preparing it for seeds, insects, and roots. This process, called mycorestoration, helps entire ecosystems recover faster. Some mushrooms even absorb heavy metals released by the fire, cleansing the earth molecule by molecule. They are nature's healers, restoring life not through conquest, but through patience. To see fungi reclaim a burned forest is to witness resilience to made visible, the earth reknitting its wounds with quiet grace. Through them, we learn that recovery doesn't need urgency, it needs continuity. The gentle insistence that life always finds its way back home. Imagine a world not built from concrete and steel, but from materials that breathe, grow, and return to the earth when their purpose is done. A world where architecture collaborates with biology instead of overpowering it. In that future, walls would repair themselves, furniture would decompose into soil, and machines would live symbiotically with the environment. This vision is already taking shape through mycelium, the organism teaching us to construct with compassion. A home made from fungi stores carbon, cleans air, and supports ecosystems even as it shelters us. It is the opposite of waste creation that nourishes. Humanity's greatest leap forward might not come from harder metals or faster circuits, but from softer thinking. The age of steel-built civilizations the age of biology may help us heal them. In fungi's patient design, the blueprint for that future already exists alive, silent and waiting. The more we learn from fungi, the more we remember that strength can grow softly, quietly, and kind. Some mushrooms seem to appear from nothing invisible one day, fully formed the next, then gone by dawn. Their speed defies what we expect from nature. Beneath the soil, mycelium prepares quietly for weeks or months, gathering moisture and nutrients. When the air turns right, a mix of humidity, temperature, and darkness, it blooms almost instantly. Within hours, threads of mycelium swell with water, lifting the cap from the ground like a breath becoming visible. Then, as quickly as it emerged, it collapses, melting back into the soil. To those who witness it, it feels like magic, a reminder that the forest moves in rhythms too fast and too slow for us to see. These fleeting mushrooms are the forest's fireworks, silent bursts of life, celebrations of balance, proof that even the earth loves to surprise us. Softly, while we sleep, beneath every forest lies a world still unknown. Scientists estimate that millions of fungal species have yet to be discovered, some living miles underground, others surviving in volcanic ash, ice, or deep ocean mud. Most of Earth's fungi remain invisible, existing only as networks or spores, never forming mushrooms at all. Every soil sample, every decaying log, could hold a new species with unique chemistry or purpose. Some might produce medicinas, others enzymes that can transform entire ecosystems. The unseen majority of fungi reminds us how little we truly understand about the planet that sustains us. Their invisibility isn't absence, it's mystery preserved. They work quietly, unobserved, shaping climate, soil, and life without recognition. The greatest frontier of biology isn't the stars above us, it's the soil beneath our feet, where millions of lives still wait to be named. The more we study mycelium, the more it behaves like something alive with thought. It grows toward resources, avoids danger, solves problems, and remembers paths that worked before. Some scientists call this mycelial intelligence, a kind of distributed awareness without a brain. Each filament acts individually, yet contributes to the whole, forming a network that learns through experience. The forest seems to think in slow motion, its mind made of hyphae instead of neurons. When faced with obstacles, fungi reroute themselves through trial and error until they find success. They don't need eyes or nerves to sense, balance, just contact, chemistry, and patience. This intelligence isn't human, but it's profound. It suggests that awareness might exist anywhere. Connection does, in every branching network brain. City, mycelium life finds a way to coordinate, adapt, and remember. The earth itself may be thinking beneath us. Whether fungi can dream or remember is still unknown, but their behavior feels almost alive in spirit. They respond to light, moisture, and vibration. They adapt to change and even seem to learn from experience. Some researchers have observed electrical signals pulsing through mycelium in patterns similar to neural activity, as if the forest were whispering to itself. Could that be a kind of memory, or the beginning of awareness? The question blurs science and philosophy. If dreaming means replaying patterns to prepare for what comes next, then perhaps fungi do dream not in images or words, But in growth and rhythm, they might not think as we do, yet they show a form of sensitivity that feels like empathy. When roots weaken, they respond. When drought comes, they conserve. Perhaps intelligence doesn't begin with thought, but with the willingness to listen and adapt. Experiments suggest that mushrooms can sense vibration, even faint sounds made by insects. Footsteps or raindrops. When exposed to certain frequencies, their growth changes subtly. As if reacting to rhythm, some species seem to accelerate when vibrations mimic thunder, anticipating the coming rain. Scientists think these reactions may come from pressure-sensitive proteins in fungal cells, allowing them to feel the world the way roots feel soil. In this way, fungi are listeners responding not just to nutrients, but to music, motion, and tone. It's as if the earth itself hums to them, and they hum back in growth. The idea that mushrooms hear might sound poetic, yet it's rooted in real biology, life tuning itself to vibration. The forest is not silent, it's full of quiet symphonies, fungi, roots, and water, moving in harmony to the slow music of survival. Even science cannot map everything that grows in shadow. Some knowledge must remain softly hidden. Inside a single teaspoon of soil lies more genetic diversity than in all known animals combined, most of it belonging to fungi. Their DNA holds patterns and codes that stretch back over 1 billion years, tracing the rise of life itself. Yet we've identified only a fraction of them. Some fungal genes produce enzymes never seen before, capable of digesting stone or metal. Others create molecules that may one day cure disease or feed cities. Each genome is a library of adaptation, written in the language of survival. Unlike animals or plants, fungi swap genes freely, blurring the boundaries of species and creating endless variation. To sequence their DNA is to glimpse life reinventing itself over and over. What we call chaos is actually evolution's handwriting beneath the surface. The story continues to grow, a living archive expanding quietly through every forest, every drop of soil, every breath of rain. The largest organism on Earth isn't a tree or a whale, it's a fungus. Deep beneath Oregon's Blue Mountains, a single network of mycelium stretches for more than 2,000 acres, connected by threads that may be thousands of years old. Similar networks likely exist across continents, linking ecosystems far beyond what we can measure. These fungal webs move nutrients, store carbon, and maintain soil structure across distances that defy imagination. They don't stop at borders, they merge, divide, and reform, ignoring the human idea of separation. What we see as individual forests may, in truth, to be one continuous organism breathing slowly beneath us. This vast network reminds us that life is not isolated, it's shared. Each root, each leaf, each raindrop is part of a single heartbeat pulsing across the earth. Fungi are the quiet proof that the planet itself might be one living, connected being. In the golden stillness of ancient amber, scientists have found fossilized fungi, perfect filaments and spores preserved from millions of years ago. These tiny shapes, trapped in resin, to reveal that the world of decay and renewal existed even in prehistoric forests. Some of the oldest amber fossils show fungi living in partnership with insects, growing in the soft hollows of their nests. Others capture delicate threads, winding through wood. Frozen mid-growth, they are snapshots of life's persistence, proof that the smallest organisms have always carried the greatest endurance. Unlike bones or shells, fungi rarely fossilize, which makes these amber relics even more precious. Looking into them feels like peering through time itself, the forest of the past still glowing softly in gold. In those ancient threads, we see continuity, the same patterns of cooperation and survival that still guide life beneath our feet today. Fungi defy our categories of life. They are not plants, for they contain no chlorophyll, and not animals, for they cannot move, yet they share traits with both. Their cells breathe oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide. Like ours, their walls are made of chitin, the same substance that forms insect shells. They live by absorbing and transforming, dissolving what they touch into sustenance. Some behave like hunters, trapping tiny organisms. Others resemble architects, building intricate structures from decay. To define them is to confront the limits of definition itself. They exist in between mediators of form and function, bridging the living and the dying, the still and the moving. Fungi teach us that life is not a set of categories, but a continuum. In their existence, the boundaries between kingdoms blur, and we are reminded that everything living shares one common thread: the desire to endure. Mystery keeps the forest alive. If every secret were solved, if every hidden process laid bare, the magic of the ecosystem would fade into mere mechanism. Fungi embody that mystery, always half seen, half known, working in silence, where curiosity must meet humility. The forest doesn't need us to understand it. It only needs to be allowed to exist. Every unknown spore, every unrecorded glow, every unanswered question keeps the balance intact. It's the not knowing that preserves wonder, and wonder that sustains care. When we stop trying to own nature's secrets, we start to belong to them again. The mystery of fungi is not an absence of knowledge, but an invitation to reverence. Beneath the forest's surface, questions outnumber answers, and that's how it should be. Some truths grow best in shadow tender, patient, and softly hidden forever. Even science cannot map everything that grows in shadow. Some knowledge must remain softly hidden. In the quiet forests of Michigan lives one of Earth's oldest beings, a single fungal colony that may be thousands of years old, known as the humongous fungus. It stretches through soil and roots over vast acres, its threads still alive from a time before written history. Each season, it sends up mushrooms that seem new, but they're only the fleeting fruit of an ancient mind beneath. Its mycelium remembers every drought, every frost, every passing generation of trees. It has outlived fires, storms, and civilizations, growing slowly and deliberately, cell by cell. This living ancestor teaches endurance through stillness. It doesn't chase life, it simply continues it. When we walk above it, we walk across centuries, touching a life that began when the world was young. The oldest fungus on Earth isn't a relic, it's a pulse, steady and unbroken, reminding the planet how to last. When fire sweeps through a forest, it leaves silence behind blackened soil, charred trunks, the scent of ash. But before long, mushrooms return, rising from the burnt ground as if born from the smoke itself. Fungal spores lie waiting through the flames, their heat-resistant shells protecting the memory of life within. When rain finally falls, mycelium threads awaken, feeding on the carbon-rich remains left by the fire. They heal the land by turning destruction into nourishment, preparing the way for moss, grass, and trees to follow. These first mushrooms after fire are not symbols of loss, but of rebirth, the earth's first response to injury. Their appearance marks the forest's heartbeat returning, slow but strong. In every charred log covered by new fruiting bodies, the lesson is clear: the planet never ends. It only transforms, and fungi are the hands that begin that transformation. When drought cracks the ground and silence replaces growth, fungi begin their slow repair. Mycelium lies dormant beneath the dust, conserving what little moisture remains, then awakens at the first sign of rain. Its threads stretch through dry soil, binding it together, holding water, and returning nutrients lost to heat. Over time, it rebuilds the delicate structure that plants need to take root again. This process doesn't happen overnight. It takes months, sometimes years, yet in that patience, the earth recovers. Mycelium acts like the nervous system of the soil, sensing imbalance and correcting it through chemistry and care. Where everything else withdraws, fungi persist, not fighting drought, but adapting around it. They restore fertility where there was once desolation, reweaving the living web beneath our feet. When rain returns, it finds the ground ready to receive it again. The forest survives because its healers never truly sleep. The story of fungi is the story of renewal without end. Every death becomes nourishment, every collapse an opportunity for something new to grow. The mycelium never stops, it only changes form, degusting, releasing, and beginning again. In this endless loop, nothing is wasted. The leaf that falls feeds the roots that rise. Decay becomes fertility. Stillness becomes motion. It's the most patient rhythm in nature, a song that never resolves, because it never needs to. Fungi remind us that life's beauty lies not in permanence, but in persistence. Even when all seems still, the work continues quietly underground. The cycle doesn't ask for gratitude or attention. It exists simply because balance must. The forest's eternity depends on it. Fungi are not the end of life. They are the turning point. The moment where ending and beginning become the same. Some spores wait longer than civilizations, hidden in umber, ice, or soil. They lie dormant for centuries, preserved by time and stillness. Scientists have revived spores more than 100 million years old, tiny capsules that slept through extinction and awakened as if no time had passed. This patience is beyond comprehension. It's as if fungi have mastered time itself, choosing when to live and when to rest. Each spore carries the entire blueprint of its kind, folded into something lighter than dust. When conditions whisper, yes, warmth, moisture, to light it opens, and the cycle begins again. The idea that something so small can outlast worlds is humbling. While other forms of life rush and fade, fungi endure by waiting. Their silence isn't absence but readiness. They are proof that eternity doesn't shout, it breathes softly. Somewhere beneath the soil, where the surface ends, the cycle continues quiet, buoyant, and endless. Like the forest's own memory of time, every forest that regrows after ruin does so through fungal memory. Beneath the surface, mycelium remembers what the land once was, which trees grew, what roots connected, to what minerals flowed. When seeds fall on scarred ground, it recognizes them, sharing water and nutrients until they stand again. Fungi are the custodians of the Earth's memory, holding blueprints for ecosystems long vanished, even where humans have cut, burned, or poisoned. Those ancient threads persist, waiting to rebuild. Their memory isn't conscious but chemical, a deep intelligence written in pattern and patience. Each new sprout rising from decay is guided by their silent recollection of balance. To walk through a forest is to walk through memory itself. Each leaf and mushroom part of a story that began long before us. Through fungi, the earth never forgets what life feels like. It simply waits to remember. Fungi teach balance not by resistance, but by surrender. They do not fight decay, they flow with it. They thrive in what others abandon, turning loss into creation. In their stillness lies a wisdom deeper than strength. The understanding that life's purpose is not to cling, but to continue. They dissolve barriers, merge opposites, and remind the world that control is not survival. Mycelium stretches through chaos without fear, finding nourishment in the broken. Its patience is not weakness, but mastery of time. In surrender, it finds renewal. In letting go, it rebuilds. Through fungi, we see a reflection of our own need for balance, to rest without stopping, to give without losing. They show that peace doesn't come from conquering the world, but from cooperating with it. The forest endures not through dominance, but through the gentle intelligence of letting things be. Beneath every step we take lies a hidden network, older and wiser than humanity itself. Mycelium threads weave through soil and stone, carrying signals, nutriments, and life between everything that grows. It is the world's first internet, a living web linking all that breathes. Our lives depend on this unseen foundation, yet we move unaware above it, forgetting that we're part of its pattern. Every breath, every heartbeat is connected to the slow pulse of this underground mind. The oxygen we inhale, the food we eat, the trees we shelter beneath, all flow from fungal cooperation. Beneath our cities, our gardens, and our footprints, the same quiet architecture persists. It reminds us that we are never separate, never above nature, only woven into its design. Fungi are not background life. They are the framework that holds all existence together. Patient, invisible, eternal. If you could listen closely enough, you would hear the forest breathing a slow, unified rhythm rising from roots and rain. This is the breath of life shared by fungi, trees, and soil. Through mycelium, carbon moves like air through lungs. Through leaves, that air returns as oxygen. Every exchange is harmony. Every exhale, an offering. The forest does not rush. It inhales for centuries and exhales for millennia. When we enter it, our own breathing begins to match that rhythm, slower, deeper, calmer. In that moment, we belong again. We realize the world has always been breathing us, even when we forget to notice. The forest's rhythm is not just natural, it is sacred, a pulse that joins all beings in one silent communion. Through fungi, that breath continues ancient, unbroken, and endlessly kind. In the end, fungi are not separate from life. They are life learning how to rest. They are its patience, its recycling, to its surrender. They remind us that growth is not the opposite of stillness, but its continuation. Through their endless work, decay becomes renewal, darkness becomes nourishment, and death becomes another word for transformation. Fungi are life's way of reminding itself to slow down, to return, to begin again. They are the planet's heartbeat between endings, the soft voice whispering that nothing is ever truly lost. When everything else fades, they remain holding the rhythm, keeping the promise. The final truth is simple and profound. Fungi are the earth resting within itself, breathing quietly beneath the noise, turning time into eternity. In their silence, life learns how to last and how to sleep peacefully inside its own forever. And now, the forest has fallen silent again. The threads beneath your feet hum softly, like a thought too gentle to speak aloud. The mushrooms have withdrawn into the soil. The spores are drifting quietly through the night, and the air is filled with that familiar scent, damp earth, rain, and memory. Everything has slowed to its natural pace. What you've heard tonight isn't just science, it's the rhythm of life itself. Fungi have been shaping the planet since long before we named it, weaving balance between decay and renewal, turning every ending into the beginning of something new. Beneath every tree, every blade of grass, and every breath we take, they are there connecting, repairing, remembering. Mycelium is the quiet mind of the world. It listens without judging, restores without asking, and continues without needing to be seen. Its work is invisible but absolute, the silent architecture that holds the forest, the oceans, and even us together. Every time a mushroom blooms, it is the earth reminding itself how to breathe. As you lie here now, maybe you can feel that same rhythm beneath your heartbeat, the slow, patient pulse of renewal. You are part of this cycle too. You exhale carbon, the forest inhales it. You inhale oxygen, the forest exhales it back. The balance is complete. What fungi teach is simple. Nothing is wasted. Nothing truly ends. Even stillness is a form of creation. The world doesn't need to rush, it just needs to continue. And so do you. Let the last words fade like dew on moss. Let the forest close its eyes around you. The work of life is still happening beneath roots, beneath thought, beneath sleep itself. You don't have to help it. You only have to rest. If you're still awake, take a moment to breathe with the world in through the nose. Slow and easy. Out through the mouth. Slow or still. Each breath is an echo of the forest. A reminder that you belong to something vast and gentle. Tonight, as the spores drift and the wind settles through the trees, may you feel that connection holding you steady. You are part of the same intelligence that grows roots and rain, that remembers light, that knows how to rest and rise again. And before you drift away completely, tell me, where are you listening from tonight? What time is it where you are? Let your words join this growing forest of quiet souls, so others can find their way here too. For now, let go of sound and thought. Let the mycelium carry the rest. The world is breathing for you. The night is kind. The forest remembers your name. Good night.